system in place to keep us in chains. By show of hands, who else is sick and tired of the same? 1% trying to keep us small, trying to keep us from getting out. Minimizing the struggles they've caused, saying we're not working hard enough.
We really should stop this fighting. Otherwise, we'll miss the fireworks.
There won't be any fireworks.
And here we go.
And welcome, everybody, to Suck It. I am the great and powerful King of Kings, Prince of all that is awesome. Derek, how the fuck is everybody tonight on this Wednesday, November 18th of the horrible year that has been 2020? Woo, it's hump day. Hump day, hump day, hump day. You know, loving hump day. You know, gotta do what you gotta do. Y'all doing all right? Making it through the week okay? We only got 2 more days to the weekend, and then next week's a short week for most of us anyway, with the holiday. You know, Thanksgiving's coming up. I cannot believe Thanksgiving's already here. Jesus, this year has surprisingly, I mean, for me, I can only speak for myself, but surprisingly enough, has gone by really fast. And I did not expect that. With everything that's got happening back in, like, you know, March and shit like that. So you never know. But hopefully it continues to do something. I don't even know what's happening. I mean, it's getting worse, but people are saying it's getting better. We're supposed to have a vaccine soon, so who knows? One's supposedly 90% effective, one's 95% effective. I mean, I don't even know. I don't know if I even trust it at this point, so who knows? But you know what? The year is almost over. Like I said, Thanksgiving is upon us. You know, I'm sure, you know, Thanksgiving plans, I can't talk tonight, have changed for most of us, but you know what? It's still a time for, you know, family and friends and everything else in between. So either way, I hope y'all enjoy it. But until then, we're going to sit here and we're going to continue to talk music. We're going to continue to talk, you know, entertainment and comedy and everything else in between. And that is no different tonight. Because tonight, I have a musical duo out of LA by the name of Analog Party. Just released a new single and video to go along with it called One, which, by the way, is fucking phenomenal. It is so good. You know, link for that is in the bio of the video and of the podcast. Check it out. But you know what? You don't want to hear from me. You want to hear from them, because that's what they're here for. So without any further ado, from the band Analog Party, please welcome to the show, Animaan and Charles.
What's up, man?
What's going on, guys?
How's it going?
Good. Thanks for having us, man.
Hey, no problem. I mean, that's what we're here for. I mean, we're here to, again, promote music, talk music, have fun, and everything else in between. So, you know what? Might as well have some fun while doing it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Now's the time to do it.
Oh, my God. Now is the time to do it. You know, especially for indie bands, you know, because the big bands aren't putting shit out. And so you guys are effectively able to level the playing field. You know, when you guys released your shit, you didn't have Avenged Sevenfold or Metallica or, you know, Nothing More or, you know, Ronnie Radke and frickin' Falling in Reverse and all these other bands to compete with. It's just you and other indie labels, other indie people. So it's fantastic, you know, kicking stones for you guys.
It's a lot like when the dinosaurs got extinct and we're just like the little mammals running around surviving, just getting shit done.
Yeah, I mean, that's all you really can do. I mean, you got to get out there. You know, you got to punch people in the faces and say, hey, we're here. Therefore, next year or possibly in 2 years, you know, once touring starts beginning again, you know, you got to make sure that you guys still stay relevant. And you guys are really the ones that are at the forefront of the music business right now, thankfully, because of the simple fact that, again, the big bands aren't doing anything about it. You know, I had a long discussion last night with the guys from Stolen Wheelchairs about this exact same subject. And I've talked to everybody about this exact same subject. 2 weeks ago, I love them to death, and they're my favorite band of all time. But right now, I'm a little pissed off at them. Avenged Sevenfold send out a massive email saying, "Hey guys, guess what? We love you, and we have a new album ready, but we're not going to put it out until we can tour again because our music needs to be supported by a tour because our stage show and yada 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 yada. Thank you very much for your love and support. Matt and Sinister Gates." Fucking hell! What the fuck, guys? Why even tell us that the album is ready?
We got that same email because we're also guilty of. But I see where like a band like that is coming from, I guess, and their last album they released with no promotion and by surprise.
None at all. Yeah.
I think it kind of like backfired a little bit.
Oh, absolutely, it did.
They're such a big band; they can go around and play the whole world, and it's fine, and they'll make money from touring and everything. But I think they're probably, a second time around, with this new record, however done it is or however complete it is, I think they're probably gearing up to do a proper promotional cycle. And so, with COVID hitting and everything, obviously,
it's impossible.
Yeah, and because you hit the nail on the head. Because they did. They had that special, like, was it 11 o'clock, live Facebook, concert on top of Empire Records. And then at the end, they were like, hey, guess what? Surprise, the album's released. And the Stage was a great album, but again, it had no, other than the one song, The Stage, which was a 9-minute, of awesomeness, but again, they hit it out of the park with it, and then, didn't get the, the amount of publicity it needed. Luckily, they did go on tour that year with, Volbeat and Metallica. But then right at the end of that, just as they were supposed to start their headlining tour supporting The Stage, Matt comes down with a major vocal cord infection, and they haven't done shit in 2 years.
Yeah.
So, but then, we haven't heard anything. I haven't gotten any good emails from them, in that amount of time. And all of a sudden I get one. It's like, oh, well, fuck you.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's like, this is sort of, it is sort of like the Wild West in the music industry right now. There's so many other factors going on, like just with streaming and all these developments with Spotify, like this recent thing that came out about, it's sort of basically like just open payola, where I guess you can pay Spotify to like advertise being in people's recommended. I think it's something like that. But
yeah,
there's all these other.
And then Spotify also opened it up this year, recently, within the last month or two, where we as podcasters won't get DMCAs. If we release a musical show that plays directly from Spotify and only goes directly to Spotify. So like I could go on there and do a whole, an hour-long show, play nothing but good music, and I won't get any DMCAs. So like I could do that for y'all, which I'm actually planning on doing in the next couple weeks for all of Earshot, by the way, just to let you all know. So Spotify's at least trying to do other things and open things up for you guys, but at the same time, it's so difficult to get a name for yourself in these, in these days, especially with no touring.
Yeah, I think there's I don't know how realistic this is, and part of me thinks it's wishful thinking, but I think there'll be a small period in time, maybe sometime next year, when venues open up to a certain amount of capacity and live and local indie bands can thrive.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't know if, big names will also jump in on those venues, and we'll get to see, like a Foo Fighters show with 250
They've already
people.
been doing that.
Yeah, they've been doing that.
They just did the Troubadour a few weeks ago, and then the Roxy, I think, like last weekend or something. But
yeah,
it's going to be interesting. I think it's like, you can look at it so many different ways, and I definitely went through in my head at the beginning of this whole quarantine, like all the negative shit that you could possibly go through with everything that's happening. But at the same time, like every band is in the same boat, big or small. And like he said, like it's probably going to open up to smaller bands first in terms of being able to play live. And then of course, it's just I'm looking at it now as sort of like just a probably a year and a half window of opportunity to be creative and reassess how to market yourself and market your music and come up with cool creative like promotional ideas and even just with shows, like even with just indie bands playing small venues, hopefully once they open up soon, it's going to be so oversaturated with bills every night, even if it's a 25%, 50% capacity. So that kind of opens up like, okay, well, maybe you have to put on a DIY show or get a warehouse. We're from LA, so there's plenty of warehouses downtown or whatever
And those are the coolest shows
to figure it out. Yeah.
By the way, so.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. Hold on one second. I think we're having some technical difficulties. Oh, maybe not. Okay, we're good. All right, good. All right, cool. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on that, but at the same time, based off of what I've been seeing too, I don't know how good or true that is either, because right now you got the bigger bands, trying to advocate to keep these places open and doing like charity events like Miley Cyrus did for Whiskey a Go-Go a couple weeks back. So I'm wondering if that's going to continue, and then them say, oh, well, since they did that for us, we got to bring them back first with the crowd. You know what I'm saying? I'm kind of worried that might happen too.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's sort of like a necessary thing that has to happen, because ultimately, like, we need these places to stay open. I mean, already a few places have closed, even just in LA, and I'm just across the country, places have closed down. So, and if that's what it takes, then that's what it takes to keep these businesses alive. Because in the long term, like, that's really the most important thing, is just to keep those places open, so the bands like us all around the country can play them, in years to come. I mean, some of these places are like legendary spots, So, I mean, I don't really know. I don't think I think maybe at the beginning, like, people had a set plan. I mean, everyone was saying, oh, the fall 2020, and then it was kind of summer 2021. And now I guess we have a little more hope with these vaccines and everything, but still we're seeing a surge everywhere around the country.
Yeah. Oh,
so
yeah.
I don't think anybody's got really a good answer or even a good accurate prediction as to what's going to happen. But
yeah,
we just have to kind of stay on top of our shit and just keep writing and trying to come up with cool things to do to, like, get our music out there. It's like a weird time. It's unprecedented for any new band right now.
Yeah, and I think when we do reach that point in time of venues starting to open up, it's probably not going to be all indie artists or all big artists. Hopefully there will be some sort of balance, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
I mean, there's plenty of big artists, I think, that wouldn't do that anyway. I think it's sort of dependent on, like, the artist's attitude. And, there's tons of rock bands that probably love the opportunity to, like, go back, bigger rock bands I'm talking about, to go back and play a small venue, because it's fun.
Without a doubt, yeah.
But I don't know if you'll see, like, on the regular, like, 100% of, like, top 40 artists,
yeah,
going to get in to play, like, the Whiskey.
Yeah, I don't think, but I think, like, I think the Foo Fighters would jump all over it to go back to the Whiskey.
They've already, like I said,
they love it there. Yeah. I mean, that's one of the, that's a classic, place right there. I mean, Elton John has played that place. So, I mean, yeah. But, again, this is one of the things that, it's scary for me as far as, being a music fan and, knowing what it's like in the business, because I used to, do stuff back, 20 years ago. But, it was, I look at, where we're at today, and it's like, I hope that it recovers. I really, really do. I know it will, but it's a matter of how strong and how big it is. Because, like, looking into even next year, there's only one, rock festival concert that I know of that's been, announced and booked, and that was Aftershock Fest, which is going to be in Sacramento, headlined by Metallica for 2 days, which I think is cool as hell. I think it was Limp Bizkit is headlining on Thursday, which
Nice.
they deserve a Thursday headlining shot, and then Metallica does Friday. And then My Chemical Romance I think is Saturday, and then Metallica does Sunday as well.
Yeah.
So it's a 4-day event. So my hats off to Aftershock, and I think that's a monster or a rock star festival.
They were gonna do that, I think, this year, and Metallica was gonna do that same thing, I remember, but then they had to cancel it all because of COVID. So I guess they're just kind of, I mean, maybe there are some new acts on this next lineup, but they basically just moved that.
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean,
But other than that, I mean, the regular events, that happen every year in May, like your Rock on the Range, which is now Sonic Temple, and then your Rocklahoma, your Carolina Rebellion, your Chicago Open Air, your Houston Open Air, nothing, just Aftershock.
When's Aftershocks set?
Supposed to be October of next year, so it's like a little less than a year away.
That's sort of like the safe bet, but like I said, I mean, because by October of next year, if everything goes according to plan with these vaccines and whatnot, then maybe probably by October we'll be able to be playing shows at least like, I don't know, 25 to 50% capacity. But at a festival like that, those like everybody knows, those are going to be the last things to come back, and so it's really just dependent on a very unpredictable future. I mean, this year's already been so unpredictable. No one thought that it was going to be like this ridiculous with all the shit. I mean, if you remember like the wildfires in like Australia, that doesn't even feel like the same universe that we're living in now, and that still happened in the beginning of 2020. So it's like, who the fuck knows what's going to happen? But look, fingers crossed that I think music and the music industry has taken enough of a hit this year. So fingers crossed that things can settle into something. In a way, like I said, I think it's maybe been a good thing for everybody in the music industry and musicians and just everybody involved to kind of have a moment to reflect on things, and maybe it just makes you think, and it makes you not take just stuff for granted when shit like this happens. But maybe there's changes to approaching music as a writer or whatever, that you can kind of glean from this entire crazy fucking year of experience. I think we lost your audio.
That was me. My bad. I forgot I muted myself. I do think, that I hope that we do come out of this stronger and people learned more about what the audience and what their fans do appreciate and enjoy, more so than they did before. This year, I've liked to look at it as a year of reinvention, so hopefully a lot of people have taken that opportunity. Whether you are, you've been in your job for 20 years, got laid off this year due to COVID, haven't been able to find a job, and are just living off of, unemployment and possibly, a severance package. Yeah. What have you always wanted to do? What's that one thing? Might as well, you have time, try, do something, don't just sit on your ass. Give yourself an opportunity, especially if you're a creator.
Yeah.
Create.
I remember March and April when it first hit, and when it was just total lockdown. In hindsight, I mean, I didn't get to see any of my friends for 2 months. That was fucking shitty, but that was an amazing time in terms of, like, I was writing music all the time. I was reading, I was working out, I was cooking. I felt like a fucking badass chef. This is such a creative explosion that is happening in my personal life, and that has given me a lot of perspective in the future going onward. So I guess we'll see how that translates. It's all about balancing it too at the end of the day. But
absolutely, I agree with that 100%.
Right.
So, are you guys planning on doing any virtual shows or anything like that to help get your stuff out there?
So we filmed an acoustic little mini set of like 4 songs, the last 2 singles that we put out, plus our upcoming single we'll be putting out early next year, and a cover tune. And that was really fun. I mean, that was just something we kind of did just because we fucking felt like we really needed to just like because it's
get in the room.
Yeah, play. First of all, I should probably say, so this is the official band, and then we have members that play with us live to fill it out, obviously, because we can't play everything. Yeah. But so we did that, and we were kind of drip releasing. We have a couple more videos from that session. I don't know if we'll live stream anything, but we're definitely keen on doing a bigger, longer set of songs of originals, you know, and actually doing it like properly at a proper little studio or stage, you know, full band, non-acoustic style. We're hoping
Loud,
just
plugged in
all the way, full
rowdy.
throttle, and we're hoping to do that probably in like January or something. I think the holidays and everything, people are in and out of town. It's such a crazy time right now, but we'll definitely be doing that. I mean, before venues open up, because we need to play. You know.
Yeah, I gotcha.
It's really good to get together and play.
Well, I told you guys about this beforehand, but I didn't really go into details. So I'm gonna go offer you guys a unique opportunity. So December 11th, 6 p.m. Eastern time, 3 p.m. Pacific. I'm doing it's probably be 6 to 8 hours long. I'm doing a charity telethon for Toys for Tots.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And right now I've got 13 bands booked, and I've got about 12 comedians booked, as well as a bunch of celebrity guest appearances and stuff like that. And I want to offer you guys a 15, 20 minute acoustic set or whatever you guys can offer to come on and be a part of this charity event for Toys for Tots.
Yeah, we'd love to.
Absolutely.
That'd be great. You know.
Yeah, it doesn't have to necessarily be live. You guys can just record something and send it to me, and I can just play it however you guys want to do it. But I would love for you guys to be a part of it. I mean, like I said, I've heard your stuff, and I'm already a fan. And I'm like, I'm asking, I want as many bands as I possibly can get, a good wide variety of sound, to make sure it appeals to everybody. It's obviously going to be an adult, show because, of the bands and the nature of comedy and stuff like that, but it's for Toys for Tots. So, you don't have to keep it clean or anything like that. There will be a warning at the beginning. Just because this is for kids doesn't mean it's for kids. But, I would love for you guys to be a part of that.
Yeah, we'd love to. Whether we do it live or we film
Absolutely,
something.
man.
We're in our little studio right now, so.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that, and because like I said, I've been asking everybody, especially from like the Earshot guys, and I have a bunch of other. I haven't announced anything behind the scenes stuff yet, but this thing is going to be huge and massive, and I'm hoping that it raises at least $10,000 to give the Toys for Tots.
Awesome.
Hoping that's my goal. It's me and another guy out of Canada that are putting it on together, another podcaster. Because little did I know they had Toys for Tots in Canada too, which is fantastic. I didn't know that. But so we're gonna do it for them too, and we're just gonna have a little bit of fun with it. And so I appreciate that. So thank you very much for hopefully being able to do something, because it would be awesome.
We're in.
We'll be there.
Cool. But anyway, back to the conversation that we were having again before the show started. The whole idea that rock is dead. So I'll go ahead and say what I said before. And then, therefore it makes sense to the people at home or in their car. That, I had a conversation 2 or 3 weeks ago with the lead singer of September Morning, Emily Lazar. And, she's under the impression that rock is dead. As much as she loves the music and that's what her band does and that's what they do, it's not so much a perspective from her and her band. It's as a perspective from what the fans and what the people think right now. Because again, you jump across the pond, and it's huge over there. Look at what they do with Download Fest every year. And look what they do with like Rock am Ring in Germany. 150,000 people pack out, for Rock am Ring and stuff like that. But then you come here. Yeah, our festivals for rock get pretty big, 20, 30,000, 40,000. But then look at what happened 4 years ago at Coachella. And if you don't know, I'll tell you. If you do know, I'll refresh your memory. Volbeat was on that card 4 years ago at Coachella.
Yeah.
And barely anybody showed up, was in that crowd for them. Maybe a couple thousand people.
Yeah.
Because it was all EDM and all rap and everything else like that, and then Volbeat. Nobody, so the rock community wasn't going to pay money to go to Coachella for 3 days just to watch Volbeat. But, the EDM community was like, who the fuck is them? We're not going to go watch them. So they had maybe 2,000 people in their crowd, but then as soon as they left, whoever it was, Dead Mouse or some, EDM guy, boom, crowd fucking massive again. And it's like, you know, it's situations like that. You know, I could be a rapper, you know, let's say my rap name is Kool-Aid. I don't fucking know. And, you know, I'm one of the biggest rappers in the world. You know, what rap artists do better than I think any genre does right now is they have their crew, their entourage, but all their entourage is rappers too. So I'm gonna bring them up on stage. I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna try to build their cred. But like, some bands do that. Like, you know, obviously, like, you know, Five Finger with Bad Wolves. You know, they've, you know, because Zoltan, you know, manages Bad Wolves. But, you know, other than that, you don't see that as much in rock. You don't see, you know, hey, check this out, you know, or hey, we're also producing these guys. We're not doing that in the rock game, which I think sucks.
I think it's a pretty valid point about rap, like the way they're able to kind of mobilize like their, you know, community, I guess, for lack of a better term. Whereas rock is a lot more segmented. Whereas like the last like thing you could really point to, like most obvious thing, you know, community of rock stuff is like obviously Seattle, you know, in the 90s. I mean, that was like a community of bands that all sort of actually hung out outside of just being in bands and stuff.
Yeah,
and collaborated too, yeah. And for many reasons beyond just like how tastes have changed or how the music industry pushes music on pop radio, like obviously you don't get that as much. Like there's not really, you know, there's music scenes in cities, but it's not like that anymore for many different reasons, you know, technology, culture, whatever. I think the thing is though, it's that the whole rock is dead thing, it's sort of like a lazy generalized statement that's just become the easy thing to say.
Yep, I agree with that. Yep.
Talking about like across the pond, I used to think that way. You know, I used to say, oh, rock is dead, blah, blah, blah. But there's so many great bands. I mean, if you go on like Bandcamp or something, there's like tons of great artists from honestly all genres. I mean, and, you know, in the UK specifically, there's great bands that if they, you know, obviously right now the road to breaking in America is very, you know, it's very broken right now, but, or just all around the world. But there's tons of great bands all over the place that, and we were kind of talking about how it's the responsibility, yes, of the bands and the songwriters and the musicians to write really great material and like really, you know, commit themselves to not just being in a band and doing whatever, but like actually like making a statement, you know, making an artistic statement, pushing music forward, pushing rock music forward. So yeah, the responsibility is on the artists for that. Maybe we need more rock bands that are underground to do that. I don't know. Maybe they're already out there. I'm not the final authority on it, but beyond that, like you can't really say rock is dead, you know, when that's happening, because it's not. Beyond that, an indie band can't control, you know, the weather in terms of, you know, the climate of how rock is going to be received. If you want to talk about Coachella, we have grown up in LA, so, you know, we're very familiar with how that's changed. And if you look at like Coachella's early lineups of, you know, of artists, like it's not just, it was more of a rock festival and an alternative festival back in the day, but you still had, you know, groups like The Prodigy and stuff on their bill. So I think with Coachella specifically, I think that's just changed into a festival that's not so much about like the cool, like artistic value. And it's just really like a big names, big money. I mean, it's sort of just a fashion show for a lot of people.
Costume party.
Yeah, it's a costume party to go there, take pictures, whatever, post on your fucking Instagram.
Yeah, same thing with what happened with Lollapalooza toward the end.
That feel that same way, you know. So it's not even just a rock thing. I think Coachella is just an example of like culture in America and how that changed. I mean, the yearning, it seems, for like something cool and kind of underground and exclusive is not necessarily there. And I don't think you can blame. I think it's a lot bigger than just the statement rock music is dead. You know?
Yeah, I don't agree with the fact that rock music's dead either. I'm just playing devil's advocate for the sake of a conversation. And you bring up a good point as far as Coachella, because I mean, what Coachella's doing now, in my opinion, was similar to what happened to Lollapalooza when, you know, at the end of Lollapalooza. You know, it started as a, you know, same thing, you know, punk and everything like that. You know, what's his name from, what the hell's his name? Crap.
Ice Cube?
No, from Jane's Addiction, the guy who started Lollapalooza.
Perry Farrell, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Perry Farrell. You know, when he first started, it was a whole, you know, just it was a lot of punk and a lot of this and a little, you know, indie rock and stuff like that. And then next thing you know, it's become something else. And then, yeah, it was just got crazy toward the end there. But, yeah, I don't think rock is dead at all. What I think the biggest problem is, again, is with some of the bands that don't help promote other bands. But then at the same time, I think the fandom is too caught up in subgenre.
Yeah,
You
definitely.
know, oh, I only like straight punk, you know, so I don't listen to pop punk or I don't listen to new punk. If it's not Rancid or, anything from the CBGB club, I don't listen to it. Or if it's not death metal, I won't listen. No, death metal and deathcore are two totally different things. I don't listen to deathcore, only death metal. And you know what I'm saying? I think they do that a lot too.
It's really juvenile and it's really limiting, and that's part of the reason why, like, I mean, touching on, like, that's a big problem with, like, heavy metal. Like, people look at, like, we were talking about Avenged Sevenfold earlier. I mean, they're a band that, like, is probably the last, like, actual, like, metal. I mean, they have obviously their own sound and everything. It's got a lot of different influences going on, but really the last, like, true, like, heavy metal with, like, old school heavy metal kind of flavor to it band that broke like that, and that was like 15 years ago, you know. And I think a lot of the problem with, like, that subgenre of rock or that community, the metal community, is exactly that. It's like, as soon as it's so juvenile, it's like as soon as a band gets big, or it's like, God forbid they have a hook in a chorus or something, you know. And so that's a big, I mean, part of it is, yeah, like, part of it's on the rock community beyond just the bands to, like, help elevate newer artists, you know. I mean, and even talking about, like, Aftershock and these festivals in America, there's not a lot of bands, like, it's sort of the same headliners, like,
Everywhere. Yep.
you can predict who it's going to be, you know.
Yeah.
And that's also part of, like, a little bit of the problem is there's got to be a little bit of risk taken, maybe. I don't know if that's the right word or the right strategy, but to elevate, like, some newer bands that are doing cool shit, you know. You got to give them that chance.
Yeah, and
That's
I
how
think
new music breaks.
I like to think of it as when people probably were saying jazz is dead. You know, obviously, like, jazz in the exact form that it was delivered back when it was, you know, at the fucking top is it was a little bit different, but I think jazz is very much around in new music today. You can hear very prominent jazz and it's not at all dead, and it never really died, you know. I think I mean, I don't think if a band comes out and they sound you know, like Motley Crue or something, I don't think they would come out today that it would be like, holy shit, you know, who are these guys? Because
I mean, there's that phenomenon.
Done,
it's like a novel thing, and I won't name any names or anything, where, like, bands come out and it's this entirely retro trip, and it's like the spitting image of this band from 25 years ago. And, like, I mean, we love, obviously, like, lots of older bands. I mean, you can hear it in our music, but it's never our intention to, like, I hate that term, like, bring it back. Like, what's it?
There is no it. There is no it.
Recreate what happened in Seattle 30 years ago.
Yeah.
People that we never met and experiences that we never had, you know?
Yeah.
But we can do, just between us, is, like, focus on, like, just writing good songs that without worrying about fucking radio play or getting it on, like, Sirius Octane or whatever, you know? I mean, no offense to that or anything, but that's just not the approach that we're taking. And I think, there's lots of bands probably that don't take that approach either. And I think the more of that we see mixed with, like, some of the more juvenile judgmental shit, you know, taken out of the rock community in terms of, like, the metal stuff that we talked about, you'll see bands, like, get maybe a little bit more success, you know?
Yeah.
It's a hard thing. There's really no formula to it. So this is
unfortunately there's not. Yeah, there is no formula these days. I mean, the only thing that I think could hopefully, you know, in the eyes of the public, kind of make it to where, you know, it's back, you know, in their eyes, you know, like, and like you said, it's never been away. It's still here. And I agree with that 100%. Because there's more rock bands now than there ever have been. I mean, you know, it's crazy. But, like, to get it, you know, anywhere close to what it was before in the eyes of the public, you know, there's a couple things that I think I would like to see happen. First off, you know, I think it kind of started with Machine Gun Kelly. him doing that pop punk album.
Yeah.
You know, but then I think if, like, hypothetically speaking, if Post Malone went back to his roots and did a metal album,
Yeah.
I
that'd
think
be
all of his rap fans would instantly still listen to it because it's posty. But then at the same time, I've heard rumors that Miley Cyrus is actually in negotiations with Elektra and Metallica right now to do a Metallica covers album.
I heard that too. That'd be gnarly.
Yeah, and I think, again, if that happened, all of Miley Cyrus's fans would be like, okay, hey, who the fuck is Metallica? Holy shit, they've been around for how long? 40 fucking years? Where the hell have I been? And then, oh my God, it would be a resurgence. So I think if those kind of things happen, I think that would happen.
Yeah, I think sometimes
Definitely.
it's good to have like the whole thing like about people like, you know, fucking Justin Bieber or whatever wearing like a Metallica shirt, that whole thing. It's sort of like, it's really, yeah, it's a little annoying when you see people and, you know, they're like, what, this is a band, you know, but honestly, that is going to do more good for rock music in the long run than harm.
Yeah.
Because somebody's wearing a shirt, maybe 10% of their audience is actually going to look up who they are, and maybe 5% of those people get into it. Well, that's 5% more people that just got into Metallica or Slayer or whatever it is. And it's the same sort of thing. Like sometimes a pop artist or a top 40 artist doing something like that and being the gateway for people that don't usually get into that kind of music.
Yeah.
They can be a gateway or a conduit to discovering that. That's a good thing, you know. It's never a bad thing.
Oh, no. I wholeheartedly think it would be a good thing. Because I've listened to some of Post Malone's stuff. I found on YouTube back when he was in his metal band in high school. That shit was fucking badass. I would love for him to do something like that again.
Yeah, he clearly is like a metal fan. I've seen a few interviews of his, and like he definitely, like, you know, loves his Megadeth and all that thrash stuff.
Oh
so.
yeah, every interview I've seen in his bus, he's always got metal blaring in the background.
Yeah.
He just knows. He's just a smart businessman. He knows that rap and hip hop is in right now, so that's what he's gonna do, and he's gonna, you know, incorporate his aspects of metal like he did last year when he brought Ozzy Osbourne on one of his songs, which that song got a shit ton of play on Sirius XM Octane, which blew my mind. But Jose Mangan's a big fan of Post Malone, and they're actually really good friends. So I guess it really didn't surprise me in the end. But you know, I'm hoping that kind of stuff happens, or more collaborations. You know, Metallica, you know, or let's say Avenged Sevenfold said, "Hey Miley, let's do a song together." You know, that would be badass. You know,
her voice, you know, like she sang at the Chris Cornell tribute thing.
She was one of the best.
She was one of the better.
oh, she was.
She had a great voice. And that thing she did at the Whiskey a couple weeks ago.
Zombie.
Yeah, the Cranberries.
Oh my God.
Sang that really, really well. I thought. You know.
I've watched that video of her singing that song no less than 10 times. Because I was just really taken back. I mean, yeah, the Chris Cornell thing for me was, okay, she's got some interesting, you know, non-pop sounds that she can do. But then with Zombie, you heard her squeal and scream. You heard her growl a little bit, and you heard a different side of her completely that I've never heard before. And I was like, fuck, this girl could fucking really help the rock world in a way that, you know, hasn't been done since like fucking, you know, Stevie Nicks and, you know, fucking all the girls from the 80s, you know, because I think that's one of the things that is, quote unquote, keeping rock alive in the eyes of some fans, is the Romans Revolution of music.
Sure.
You know, whether, you know, it's, you know, Lizzie Hale from Hailstorm, or Maria Brink from In This Moment, or like I said before, you know, Emily Lazar from September Morning, and, you know, Tatiana from Ginger, and all these bands that have these lead singer, or the Butcher Babies, 2 female lead singers, you know, just fantastic. I think that kind of stuff right there is what is really kind of going, holy shit, look at what these women can do. You know, I've never seen anything like that before. Yeah, Joan Jett was a badass. Yeah, you know, Stevie Nicks was a badass, but what the hell is you know, like Tatiana from Ginger. I don't know if you've ever heard her sing, but that, like, oh my God, like she has the pipes that are like equivalent to like, what's a good comparison? She sounds like the female version of Lamb of God.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
great.
but like she's got that same depth of voice, the same deep and the same guttural growl. Like you could probably not tell the difference between him and her.
That's cool.
And that's what I love about it. And that whole, again, that women's revolution is really, really a powerful thing in my mind right now.
I think that's a cool
Yeah.
point because I feel, actually feel like, I mean, people, I don't know, I mean, with kind of culture today, but like people talk about rock music and they always, for some reason, like just talking about like diversity in music, they always, for some reason, center in on like the 80s in LA and how it was like a very white guy type of thing. And that was true. But I also think that rock music probably worldwide is like one of the most diverse, you know, there's so many different groups of people, men, women, and then just different races of people everywhere that are into it. I mean, I was just watching on the news like a month ago, just randomly it came on like some story, can't remember what country in Africa, but it was like this little scene in Africa, they get together every weekend and it's just fucking like thrash metal. And it's in the middle of Africa, you know?
Yeah.
And they're, and so, yeah, I think it's great that there's tons, you know, there's more and more women, or at least more and more women that are getting noticed, that are, you know, lead front women, or, you know, whatever you want to call it, in bands. And I think that's a good element in rock music worldwide to have, is just like more and more people from all walks of life, like getting into it. That's what's cool about it.
Yeah. I mean, you just brought up
It wasn't there, it wasn't pronounced.
Yeah.
30.
You know, and you bring up a great point too, as far as like the cultural divide. You know, rock I don't think has a cultural divide. You know, whether it's the Haitian lead singer from Seven Dust, Lejeune, you know, or the all Hispanic, you know, speaking Puerto Rican metal band called Puya, I think their name is, or you know, Il Nino, a bunch of Mexican guys, or you know, Sepultura, a bunch of guys from Brazil. You know, it's there's so much, you know, or like before they broke up, who was it? God forbid, big old 350-pound black dude with dreads down to the frickin' floor, who when he headbangs might as well frickin' like look like a goddamn, you know, helicopter. But I mean, that shit was as cool as hell. You know, we have so much diversity in the rock world that people just don't understand.
I feel like it just doesn't get talked about because, like I said, like, I don't know, in the conversation I've seen little articles here and there, it, you know, it talks about, oh, you know, 35 years ago, you know, the Sunset Strip, it was, yeah, of course, there was a misogynistic sort of like very singular type of group that would be rock musicians, but it doesn't get talked about enough, the fact that there's, you know, in the last like 20, 25 years, like so many different types of bands that have broken from all sorts of places. I mean, like I just mentioned System of a Down.
Yep.
Or Armenian guys from Glendale, you know.
Yeah.
And they are like one of the biggest rock bands of the last generation, I would say.
they
And
are.
they haven't even, I mean, they just put out these 2 new songs, but they haven't put out a fucking album since 2005, like a proper record of music. So it's like, it's always interesting to me how that doesn't really get focused on, but the kind of opposite gets focused on when it comes to rock music.
Yeah, but I think what a lot of people don't realize and recognize is the fact that, you know, back in the 80s, you know, with hair metal and the Sunset Strip and, you know, being a bunch of white guys were the only guys willing to and were risque enough to wear those leather pants, because the entire black community watched Eddie Murphy Raw and him wear those leather pants, and they wanted nothing to do with it.
I think with like also the internet and just like being able to receive information about stuff and like see, because I think just in life, like as human beings, I think like people sometimes like people are wary of certain things, certain imagery, until they kind of look around and they see like maybe their friends like cool with it or something, or someone else is like, oh, that's actually not that bad. So I think the reason for all that kind of changing is obviously just culture moves in a certain direction as history, goes on. But I think with the internet, like you just see a lot more, like it's like okay to fucking do that or wear a dress, or like this whole thing with Harry Styles. I don't know if you've like heard about this,
No.
because he photo shoot or something recently, and it went like viral because he's wearing a dress. I was like, Scott Weiland was wearing a dress,
Yeah.
pretty, and talking about like the same themes of like, Sex Type Thing was their first single, I think.
Yep.
SDP. And they were talking, like the whole song was against macho, meathead, rapey guys.
Yeah. And by the way, my joke was fucking hilarious. I need to write that down because that's going in my set. That was a fucking hilarious ass joke. I don't feel it got enough attention. Damn it. So I need to rewrite it because that's funny as hell. But no, I mean, joking aside, you're right. I saw what was it? A TikToker. Was it a TikToker or maybe it was an Instagram video. I don't know. But it was talking about how, what does it matter if a guy wears a dress? Men have worn dresses for generations, whether it be in Australia, Africa, Ireland, Scotland, whatever else, because fucking pants are hot and my balls are sweaty. If I want to fucking catch a breeze, why can't I wear a goddamn dress? What do I have to be, a female to wear a dress? Why can't I be a macho guy wearing a dress and my balls want to fucking breathe? It's like
the way around if you think about it. I mean, guys should be wearing dresses. Like it just makes the most sense scientifically.
Yeah, I have no problem. I would wear a kilt or maybe a leather mini skirt. I don't care.
Hey man, I'm right there with you.
It's gonna be the next fashion revolution in music will be just leather dresses.
Yeah, but I think some guys would have to wear longer dresses, like knee length, because otherwise, that would there'd be a lot of indecent exposure, arrestings and stuff like that.
Look at like what Marilyn Manson was doing in the '90s. He had his fucking ass out on MTV 2 years in a row. I think it was like the music awards, I guess. But like full corset, cheeks out. So I feel like there's almost in a way like these aspects of rock music and rock culture have been there for a long time. I mean, not even talking about dresses or ass cheeks hanging out, but like David Bowie, like one of the greatest artists of all time. One of the most androgynous artists of all time, and
yeah,
I just always wonder why that kind of doesn't. I mean, on a retrospective of David Bowie, that might get brought up, obviously, because you kind of have to, but it's something that I think like is going to help and should help like rock music kind of break through this barrier in culture today, where everyone's always talking about it in the past as this past era thing.
Yeah,
it's like it's been these themes that like people celebrate in other forms of music or other areas of culture today, breaking gender norms, whatever you want to call it, for example. Like they've been there in rock music and they're still there in rock music, and obviously there's been past elements of machismo and all that kind of shit, but I think those things are important elements that because they're there, like are gonna help rock survive this call it a hibernation. I don't say rock is dead.
Yeah. A hibernation's a good word, because again, I think if some of these people really kind of open their eyes and ears to some of the stuff that's out there, I think people would be surprised. One of my, somebody I can't personally stand on a human being level because I think he's such a dick, but I think he's cool as shit at the same time because he's cool about being a dick, if that makes any sense, is Ronnie Radke of Falling in Reverse. Yeah. He, went to jail for a while, because, something, and then came back out with Falling in Reverse, and it was definitely a different type of music. But one of the things that's really cool about him is that guy can rap, like, as good as fucking, Eminem in some cases. But he's also got a good set of pipes on him, and he can sing. He's a great musician. He's a great lyricist. He's a good composer. And I think if some of these rap people, got a hold of some of their music, they would be like, wow. I mean, if you just go on to YouTube and look at, YouTubers react to, Falling in Reverse this or Falling in Reverse that, and you see all these rappers, like, damn, this guy can fucking flow. It's like, okay, but why aren't more people getting ahead of that? Why aren't more people buying into that? And, you know, and then from there, oh, Falling Riffs was cool, but what about, okay, then these guys? Like, Nothing More is a good gradual, you know, from there. And then, you know, maybe them. And then, oh, look at that. And then Bad Flower. And then, oh, look, maybe Avenged Seven, you know, kind of like this gradual thing. I think that's not happening enough.
It's a gateway sort of thing. I mean, like rock music. I mean, for even both of us, like growing up, getting into rock music 15 years ago or whenever, it's, you know, gateway type stuff like that is super important. I think those reaction videos are interesting because you also see like a System of a Down, like you know, react like a, you know, clearly like a hip hop channel, like reacting to rock videos. Like, you know, there's a few channels like that. And you get these bands that are pretty wacky, but it's really interesting to watch people's reactions who like have not been exposed to that kind of music, would not think on their own to like go check it out, you know, unless they had this channel where they're reacting to stuff they haven't heard before.
Yep.
And it's really interesting because a lot more of the time you see that people out of this rock world like actually kind of dig into it and like give it a chance and they like it. So I think the biggest problem like for rock music is just the exposure and like this cultural kind of like unspoken thing of like not giving rock music a chance because of assumptions about it or like just juvenile, like it's not popular, so it's not cool, or classic rock was cool, but rock is dead. And that whole, I mean, it goes back to that statement. It's just like a lazy kind of misleading statement. You know?
Yeah, and I think another thing that is going to help is when rock influences show up in other genres. Like, for example, I don't know if you're familiar with Run the Jewels. I love Run the Jewels. They're like a hip hop duo, but the production and the beats and the music, you can tell, and they've said it in interviews before, they're huge fans of rock music. They love metal, they love heavy, anything that's heavy. And in turn, when they talk about that stuff, when they take the time to talk about their influences and where all that heavy energy comes from, that gets people listening to rock music too, and older bands and just any sort of influence.
And I think it goes like both ways too, because I think on the other side of, yes, while there's like lots of cool underground rock bands, on the other side of like maybe sort of like, again, I won't name names or anything, but like kind of the more stale qualities of modern rock music that you might hear on the radio and stuff, like I think it goes both ways, because I think incorporating influences from all over the place, like it just makes, in any genre, makes your music more interesting. And some of the best rock music that people laud is like great classic rock, or even like not classic, but like Deftones is a band that has a legacy. System of a Down is a band that has a legacy. And like those bands, for example, listen to like I'm pretty sure Chino Moreno, like one of his favorite singers, and if you really think about it, you can hear it, is Sade, you know?
Yeah.
So it goes both ways, where I think like it's important as an artist to not just kind of like, we love Alice in Chains, but I'm not going to sit there and only listen to Alice in Chains and then just rehash it. You know?
Exactly.
You definitely hear elements of that in our music. There's no denying that. We're very proud of that. But if you're just listening to like one specific generation or lineage of rock music and it's a subgenre, it's this or that, then yeah, you're not doing any favors in terms of trying to get rock music like going, elevated again.
Exactly.
You know?
No, then at that point you turn into Greta Van Fleet, which is just a fucking rehashing of fucking Led Zeppelin. I have no problem talking shit about Greta Van Fleet. Fuck them and their entire fucking band.
I'll reserve our opinions to ourselves, but it's a situation where you have those guys can like clearly play and everything. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, no doubt.
Drums. But that's a situation where, again, you can look at it one way and say this is great because they have a much younger demographic than other like more modern rock bands, because they're younger guys, you know, they're like around our age, I think.
Yeah, they are.
And so you're having maybe like 13 or 14-year-old girls and boys checking out like Led Zeppelin too, you know, because obviously it's going to come into the conversation if you're listening to that band. So that's a good thing, right? But I think
I agree.
One of the most valuable pieces of advice I ever got when I was younger from my first drum teacher was like, and he was just telling me from a drummer's perspective, was if you like this band, go read an interview with them and listen to what they listen to, and then, you know, do the same, you know, as far back as you can go. and your influences, if you do that, like branch out, and not to try and spin it into some like everybody needs to be a fucking music historian. That's just unrealistic. But when you do that, when that's kind of the principle that you're letting guide you when you're discovering music, or just as a casual music fan or listener, I think that it just pays off so much.
Yeah, I agree. And to me, and I'm sure you guys have your own opinion about Greta Van Fleet, and whether you like them or not. I just like to bust on them because it's one of those things that's. Yeah. I was never a fan of them anyway. The first time I heard them, I thought legitimately that Zeppelin put out a new album. I'm like, how the fuck did this happen? Because I agree with you on that aspect of things. Like, yeah, like, oh, well, they're just copying Led Zeppelin. Okay, I'll go listen to Led Zeppelin. I get that, and I agree with you on that. But at the same time, have your own style, have your own, take something, and then make it your own. And I don't think no offense to those guys, because those guys are fantastic musicians. Don't get me wrong. But, I don't think they did much to differentiate themselves from either Rush or, or Zeppelin. But neither here nor there. But again, that influence thing is a huge thing. Like, here's another good example. Ice-T with Body Count. Bunch of rap guys doing fucking heavy ass fucking metal. Fuck yeah, let's do it. Or what was the name of that damn group? They're broken up now, but it was the guys from Rage, but then it was also Cypress Hill and
Prophets of Rage.
Prophets of Rage, yeah, and then Public Enemy. The weirdest grouping of people I've ever heard of in my life. Public Enemy, Cypress Hill, and Rage Against the Machine. Okay, but again, that brought people like, Cypress Hill's doing rock music. Well, they always kind of did. They had a rock rap type of feel to it. But, Public Enemy never kind of did. Well, I take that back. Public Enemy was the first rap group to ever cross to the rock genre in the 80s with Anthrax. They were the first band to ever do a rock rap compilation with Anthrax in the 80s. So I take that back. I completely forgot about that. But, so that kind of stuff is appreciative to the rock community because it's like Ice-T. I mean, it's fucking Ice-T. I mean, who doesn't love Ice-T? You can turn on USA at any given time of the day and watch, fucking Special Victims Unit and, enjoying some Ice-T. But at the same time, you can turn on Sirius XM Liquid Metal and hear fucking Body Count. Fuck yeah, let's do it.
Totally.
I again, that's going back to that whole no cultural divide. But at the same time, some of these rap guys and even pop guys love the metal and rock genre. But at the same time, some of the rock guys don't like rock music. They'll listen to pop and rap. Like Korn is notorious for listening to nothing but rap. Bring Me the Horizon is notorious for just loving British pop. That's what they love. They sing, whatever. I don't even know what genre they are anymore, but they love their British pop. So I mean, it goes back and forth both ways. But again, it just brings more exposure. But the bands are doing it, but again, the people aren't. So I just think we need to, I think the bands just need to get more word about them. If Post Malone is a big fan of Megadeth or Metallica, stuff like that. Yeah, he's talking about it. He's not really talking about it, but he's playing it in the background. But they don't know who it is. But if he hears a new album comes out and goes, "Holy shit, man! This new Ice Nine Kills album is fucking amazing." Yeah, it's fucking horror rock, but go fucking listen to it. I think that would be amazing. But I don't hear him doing that either.
I think the other aspect of it, which you just really can't, you can sort of. I mean, I don't know if you can bank on it or not, but the other aspect of it is just sort of the intangible, like music does go in cycles. I mean, it's kind of oversaid statement, but I mean, if you look at like, I don't know what the 10-year-olds of today when they're 18 or 20 are going to be listening to, but it's probably not going to be like trap and the kind of pop music that's happening right now.
Hell
that's
no.
gonna have been going on. People get tired of that, and then you move to something else. I don't know if it'll be grungy, heavy rock music, but it'll be something different. Maybe it'll have elements of that. I don't know. Maybe it'll be something completely different. Maybe fucking bebop will come back, and that's what people will be listening to. I don't know. But
Billie
music,
Eilish,
yeah.
I think maybe something in that direction.
No, but I'm talking about like even just like kids, like little kids, like what they're gonna listen to. And
Well, I know my little girl, my 10-year-old, is a hardcore metal chick. I mean, she listens to she has a couple little pop things that she likes here and there because she listens to YouTube. She watches YouTube religiously. So she'll, likes her pop stuff. But like when she's, with me, it's, hey, what do you want to listen to today? And I'm like, I don't know. What do you want to listen to? She goes, okay, let's listen to Ice Nine Kills. Okay, cool. We'll listen to Ice Nine Kills. That little girl can recite word for word every word on that entire album that they released in 2018. That is one of her favorite albums. It's like, Dad, can you put on Silver Scream for me? Yep, no problem. We will rock out to Silver Scream. I mean, that little girl is just amazing, and I didn't have much influence on it. I just played it a lot, and she was like, "This is amazing."
That's good. Yeah. The other part of it is then it comes down to a generation of parents raising the kids right.
Raise your kids right. Listen to rock.
Yeah.
Some people have the heavy bug, and some people don't. But I think I don't think heavy music in general is ever gonna go away.
And rock music was never about. It never started as like, let's take over the world and be the top of the charts. All of those things really, even though it lasted as such a popular pop form of music, that was always sort of just an anomaly, of the whole thing, because it was never, rock is like the music of rebellion, and it's, the powerful messages in rock music. It's a rebellious thing from its roots, and I think that's a good thing. It should always be that way. That's what makes rock music so powerful, and why it touches so many people. So, whether it's gonna be bigger in the next 10 years, but never as big enough to be like dominating top 40, like when Guns N' Roses was top of the charts, like who knows and who cares and what can you predict, I think the most important thing is that there's just like always new bands coming out, like trying their best to just like write really cool stuff that's gonna stand the test of time and not chase trends and not try and get on the radio and do formulaic crap. And I think there's always going to be an audience for that. Because if the music's good, doesn't matter where you're coming from. Like we talked about those React videos, people that probably never listened to this kind of music before, and they hear it and they're into it. Like it's going to grab your ear, if it's good. So.
Yeah, you actually just brought up a point that I completely never made before, and I'm surprised I didn't think of it. You're 100% right. Rock was always supposed to be, underground. I mean, I remember back in 83, I wasn't around. I was just 2 years old, 3 or 4 years old, whatever it was. But when Metallica released Kill 'Em All in 84, they got a bunch of shit from their fans. Like, why are you signing with a label? What the fuck is wrong with you guys? I completely didn't even think about that.
Same thing happened to Green Day. I know, like their fans got so pissed off when they eventually left the hardcore punk scene
and created a Broadway play.
Yeah, maybe that was. But it's like I watched an interview clip like came up on my Instagram with Fat Mike from NoFX, and he literally was talking about Green Day and like Rancid and all these bands. It's like, yeah, they signed to major labels in the 90s, and it brought like punk music to a wider audience. They didn't really change the type of music. Like they didn't sell out. Yeah. Selling out is changing your style and your vibe completely to be popular. Like these bands kept playing. I mean, yeah, Green Day kind of went and did their own thing, but even then I wouldn't necessarily call it selling out. But so that touches back on like the kind of the subgenre sort of like elitism. If you get too big, then all of a sudden this thing happens where you suck, which is stupid. But yeah, I mean, rock music, like it's not really important whether it's on the charts or not. It's important that it exists and that there's new stuff coming out that's really cool and fresh, and that there's always gonna be fans to support it.
Yeah, and if you think about charts, like think about all the rock music that has been on the charts in the last maybe 40, 50, 60 years, there's definitely a lot of crap on there that didn't
As
stand
well.
the test of time.
Yeah.
So charts are never going to be the definition.
Yeah, I mean, there were so many. I mean, there's like a few real, like in hindsight, looking back, just talking about like the Sunset Strip glam metal thing. Like, there's a few bands from that scene that people still listen to and still have sort of a legacy. And even within that, there's like the Motley Crue, you know, who's like probably the number one out of that whole thing, you know. And but then there was also like, I wasn't there for it, but like I've seen little names pop up and I'm like, who the fuck are these guys? There's tons of glam bands that were just kind of recycling shit, and like there wasn't really any artistic like goal or deep like substance in it, you know.
Yeah.
And so there's like, that's just always going to happen. That's
Yeah, I mean,
that's like population control of the world. Like, you can't
yeah, I mean, we still even have glam metal today. I mean, thanks to bands like Steel fucking Panther, you know. God, Michael of the Steel Panther is one of the coolest fucking guys I have ever fucking met. I mean, that band is amazing. And I'm not being facetious. That shit is fun. That is fun rock right there. I mean, there is nothing better in the world, you know, driving down the road and on your fucking Amazon playlist that you just randomly all of a sudden comes up as Death to All But Metal, and talking about how, you know, 50 cents, I'm not going to say the word, but 50 cents, you know, this, and, you know, so is Kanye West shooting hot sperm on each other's chest. I mean, that's one of the greatest metal lines of the entire generation of rock. It's like, yes!
They got like a whole comedy trip to them, obviously, but like that's another like gateway sort of thing. Like,
it is
out there that's like, oh, this funny band that kind of does that 80s thing that was big in the 80s. There's probably some of their fans that are younger that like actually went and like got into like fucking Poison or Motley Crue or whatever.
Oh,
you know?
absolutely, yeah.
Maybe do good things with it. Yeah.
But yeah, I love Steel Panther.
Fun fact: I got to open for them with an old band that I was playing with, and they were the coolest. They were the funniest, coolest dudes, and it's like them outside of their whole costume and getup thing. They look like golf dads. You know? They look so, the bass player especially. I mean, that guy, he looked like an introverted painter when I saw him. And then,
I don't even think because I think the lead singer's hair is like actually that long, but
Yeah,
all the other guys
have wigs.
I don't even realize what they look like.
I didn't realize they had wigs. I've only met Michael once back in the day. He's cool as shit. I tried to get him on the show recently, but they got so much going on. But yeah, I love those guys too. They're fucking fantastic. So where do you guys see yourselves in the next 6 months to a year? I mean, what is your guys' plan?
I would have been able to give you a solid answer before 2020 happened. God, I don't know.
It's unpredictable.
I do know this is that we're writing a lot of music, and you know, we're pretty, especially with the time that we've gotten during this pandemic. Like we're pretty just writing constantly type of a band. So we probably have like at least an album and a half of songs like done, or you know, almost done. So we'll probably do some like heavy duty recording next year. I don't know if that'll be in the form of 4 more singles or a 5-song EP or 2 4-song EPs or whatever, maybe an album, I don't know. But we definitely have 1 more single already mixed and mastered that we're going to put out in probably like February or early March of 2021.
We'll probably do a video for that as well.
Yeah, we'll put out probably another couple music videos, and we'll circle back around and do a video also for the single we put out called Absolution, which we put out in June this year.
Mm-hmm.
We'll probably look into doing a, you know, pro-shot little performance thing. There's tons of great studios that are kind of doing that in LA for, you know, they have like full major band rates and indie band rates. So we'll probably look into that and do something like that early next year. And then hopefully, you know, just keep, you know, probably just a lot more probably on the writing and recording side until we can figure out how to get some warehouse shows going or something like that, you know. But we're going to keep, you know, keep on keeping on, I guess, because this has been, you know, it's such an integral part of our lives. I mean, me and him have been playing together since we were teenagers at this point, in all sorts of different bands too. Before, you know, I started playing guitar and writing songs and even singing, just as a bass player and as a drummer in other bands. So this is sort of one of those things that's just kind of like a main thing in our life, or in our lives, I mean. So it's not really something that is going to be given up anytime soon, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the right answer, but that is the answer.
Hey, that's a great answer, to be honest with you. Because like I said before, I mean, I dig your guys' sound. When I first started listening to one, I was just like, excuse me. When I first started listening, I'm like, okay, where's this gonna go? Because it's kind of started off with, just you and the guitar, no distortion, no nothing. It was just, you playing open and just kind of doing your thing. And I was like, okay, what's it gonna do? Where's this gonna go? And then all of a sudden, boom! I was like, fuck yeah! I turned it up. Well, I was like, turn it down. I'm like, no, fuck this shit. This is great. And I just enjoy the shit out of it, man. It was so fucking good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, I consider myself a connoisseur, a douchey connoisseur of rock music. I'm that hipster douchebag dad metalhead. You know what I'm saying? I've always been that guy. And, I don't like the whole subgenre thing of metal or the whole subgenre thing of rock. Rock is rock, metal is metal. That's it. I mean, for me, it's just two things. You got rock and roll, and then you got metal, and then that's it. And that's what I enjoy. I just love all genres of rock. I I love listening to music. And like I told you guys before, one of the greatest things that I've really kind of enjoyed this year is the indie bands that have come out and really kind of punched me in the face saying, hey, guess what? We're here too. And, it's allowing you guys, again, to level that playing field with the bigger bands because they're not doing anything. And you guys now have an opportunity to take advantage of that and really kind of just show what you guys are made of. And I think that this EP and that song alone is going to do that for people, bro.
Thank you very much. It's very kind.
Yeah, we're kind of we're coming to terms with the fact that a major label is not really gonna want to come within a 10-foot pole of us. So we're just kind of building our niche, and we're finding our niche, and just doing it song by song. And
yeah, I mean, like kind of like what you just said. I mean, for us, yeah, it's really more about like really capturing. I mean, there's so many people that, I mean, we're having this conversation now, and we're on opposite sides of the U.S. Like there's so many people that feel kind of the same, are in this conversation that we've been having that kind of share similar opinions to everything we've been talking about. And so we're just trying to reach those people, one by one if we have to. But, we're pretty confident that there is an audience for this kind of music and that we can go pretty far with it. It's just like, the other thing is like, it's not easy as a smaller band, especially like today, in these crazy times. It's
saturated market too.
It's pretty unprecedented. I don't think any band in history has had to start up in like such a long, widespread, like global pandemic,
Yeah, no.
That's one thing. So I think it's also a matter of, perseverance, and things aren't going to be handed to you and stuff like that. But I mean, we're in this for the right reasons. Like we love this kind of music, and we love, like, I have to just like, I'll be writing songs no matter what happens in my life, It's just something that I do, like I got to do. It's like, I was reading an interview with like Mike Patton, an old interview where he was like, the creative process when he was younger for him it was like going to the bathroom. Like, it was just like, it's just like part of your life, So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much 6 months to a year. God knows where we'll be. Hopefully playing live shows. I'd like to say playing shows. Yeah.
That's the number one thing.
Yep.
That's huge, obviously, but
well,
we'll see.
Yeah, you definitely have an opportunity on December 11th for the Toys for Tots charity event. Hit me up on Instagram or whatever, and we'll hash it out or whatever. Or I'll just send you guys a message through Mike or whatever. But I again, that right there above everything else is, you know, one of my biggest passions right now. Yeah, I'm loving, you know, promoting indie bands. I'm loving promoting music and, you know, all these cool movies and things like that I've been doing lately. That's all great. I love every second of it. But you know what? There's been people that have been hit harder than you and I, harder than, you know, some people that we don't even know that have been hit really, really bad this year. And I just want to give as many kids a good Christmas as we possibly can. So hopefully, you know, what we're doing on the 11th, we'll do that. And with 25 plus acts, you know, everything from metal to rock to punk to comedy to this, and it's going to be so much fucking fun. You know, I just, you know, and I thank you guys for wanting to be a part of it. Even though, like I told you before, the only reason why I asked you live on the show so you couldn't say no, because then you'd look like dicks. But like I said, I knew before. I was like, it's a charity event. No one's gonna say no to a charity event. I mean, some of these bigger names that I've gotten, they're just like, hell yeah, whatever you need, I got you. I'm like, cool. So, you know, I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm really looking forward, aside from all that, to giving, you know, indie bands a platform to play on a national, YouTube, but still a national stage with other, you know, with bigger acts, you know, and kind of giving yourself a name as well. Because, you know, aside from, you know, well, you know, so-and-so is going to be there, so I'm going to watch that. Oh, I'm going to check out these guys, you know, Analog Party. Cool. But not only that, are they really good? But they're doing a free charity concert for Toys for Tots. And that's going to, you know, give you even more publicity. So you know what? It's a win-win for everybody. So
no, we'd love to do it. Yeah, it's a great cause.
And I would love to see what you guys put together for me and for these people. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be so much fun. And you guys are just fucking awesome. I mean, I enjoyed the last hour and 20 minutes just shooting the shit, talking music. This is what I love to do. I mean, you know, because you're going to go on a bunch more podcasts probably, and they're going to talk about you. But you know what? I wanted to have an opportunity to find out your opinions on music, your opinions on life, and this and that. Therefore, people get to really see a different side of you because, you know what? I'm not like every other show. I'm different from everybody else out there, and I want to continue to be that way. And I'm glad you guys came along with me on this wild fucking ride because it's been great.
Thanks for having us, man.
You're a fucking great interviewer, and, you know, we appreciate you bringing us into the equation of all these indie bands coming together and especially in this crazy fucking time. So
yeah, it's gonna be fantastic. I'm so looking forward to it. It's gonna be so much fun. But aside from all that, I've met some really, really great guys in the process, and including y'all. And it's really fun to sit down every day for an hour and a half and just talk music and talk life and talk entertainment and just zone out from the rest of the world's bullshit and just talk about what we are passionate about. And that's exactly what we did tonight, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having us, man.
Amen.
It was a good conversation.
Hey, that's what we're here for. But guys, again, check out Analog Party. All the links are in the description of this video and of the podcast. Definitely check it out. Check out that music video for one. It's fucking amazing, like I told you guys before. Check them out. You know, stream their shit, buy their shit, enjoy their shit because they deserve it. But you guys have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk soon about the concert, man, okay?
Yes, man, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, man. Thank you.
You're welcome. You have a good one now.
All right, take it easy.
All right, you too. All right, guys. So that is it. Whew. What a day. Oh, my God. What a great conversation with those guys. That is what I love doing. I love this fucking show. God damn, I love this shit. And another band booked for for December 11th, charity concert for Toys for Tots, 6 p.m. East, 3 p.m. West. It's a Friday. We can go for 4 hours. We can go for 6 hours. We can go for fucking 8 hours. We don't care. It's all about the kids and raising money for Toys for Tots. That's what we're doing this for, and another band booked. You will hear a full announcement of everybody, hopefully by Monday or Tuesday of next week. So stay tuned for that because it's going to be huge. But just check out what we got going on. Tomorrow. Who do I have tomorrow? I got somebody tomorrow. All these bands. Tomorrow, I have the Happies coming on, another band out of LA. The Happies coming on. And then Friday, I've got Roxanne Luciano coming on. So that's the rest of the week. It's going to be fun. It's going to be great. It's going to be so much ill shit, yo. But come back tomorrow, 8 p.m. East, 5 p.m. West, and always available the next day everywhere podcasts are found. But until tomorrow, I love you guys. Stay happy, stay healthy, and as always, stay fucking heavy. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace.